I want to talk strictly about the scroll. It's like a TikTok. But before I talk about the scroll, let me just say that when I was homeless in the streets when I was 18, while my classmates were graduating in Northwest Iowa, going to school still, while I'm homeless on the streets in California. In California, I vowed to myself that I was going to try to win the Nobel Peace Prize for Humanity. And a lot of it stemmed out of the fact that all of my... I was homeless on the street. What I did for a living the last 7 months that I was met the most incredible people. I met the most incredible people that paid to spend time with me. And because of the person that I've been since I was 8 years old, I met people of literally every ethnicity. Because of where I was exactly at, that those people spent money to see me, was literally a world famous hotspot for people like me. And I don't mean to underestimate that, particularly, at some point I'll talk about it in the series of 4 autobiographies, but the experience, because of the kind of person that I was and the passion that I have for people, and that's one of the things that kept me safe, because I'm at 2 weeks shy of the year of living in San Francisco. The only people that I talked with, homeless people, drug dealers, and prostitutes. And I'm sure murderers, thieves, and everything else stuck in there, especially when it comes to my clients. I literally met the most amazing people, most of which made me feel like a very incredible, special person. They inspired me. Many people told me that I should write a book, and I vowed to myself that I was going to write a book that I thought would create a wave of change that would possibly win me the Nobel Peace Prize. And so in theory, and then I had to wait till I was 40 before I published that book. And then the ripple effect would create such power that I would win the Nobel Peace Prize. That's what I thought. But what it did is made me live an entire life thinking that I wanted, context-wise, that I was trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize because of understanding people, and then in a very unique way. And for the most part, I knew that I was just going to kind of live my life and gain my education and spend a lot of time understanding every culture throughout the world for the betterment of basically trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize for Humanity. That's fact. I was 18 years old when I thought about that. So in that context and in that space, when I talk about the scroll and all cultures, there's to be a Peapod Center in every city over 200,000 people. That's just over 4,000 locations throughout the whole world. That's not counting places that franchise. Franchises are going to end up having to be a couple of different levels of being able to franchise, because anyone that has like a hype house, Team 10, that we've seen in the early 2010s, but later even after that, basically when YouTube really started to take off, when these like groups of people, young kids, and they'd make like a lot of videos together, and there was a central person who made a lot of money. So there's a franchise part to that. Anyhow, not to get caught up too much, spend too much time with that in your head, but when you have I'm just throwing out a number. I haven't really started on a list, and when it comes to that point, once the social media site is launched, I'm going to start gathering the kinds of people that I need. Particularly if you have a psychology degree, I would imagine at some point in this, college students, I want to inspire them to work on master thesis with the kind of content that I'm able to accumulate. And that's a whole nother process and a whole nother video. Again, I want to kind of keep this about the scroll. But imagine being able to categorize the human experience in about 100 different catalog things, like from work to, kind of different jobs that we have, job industries, education, hobbies, getting a new job, what it's like to have your heart break, what it's like to bury a parent, what it's like to bury a child, what it's like to go through, a divorce, a death, just trauma, a tsunami, COVID, being locked down, and no food, no water. What are these experiences? And there's a whole bunch of reasons why I've made some other videos on here that kind of talk about this catalog and how it works. There's several little bits and pieces here and there. Again, I'm just trying to narrow this down to just the catalog thing. It's like a TikTok scroll. So if we can categorize the human experience into 100 different things, each Peapod Center that's in 4,000 locations throughout the world, which is going to be front and center. The manager is managing all the homeless people organizations throughout the world is going to be one of the missions that the Peapod Center and the Good Ship is trying to do. That's one of the big main focuses. So wherever a Peapod Center location is, it's going to want to make a very good relationship with soup kitchens and all that. We're not trying to take over anything that exists, but if we can kind of create funding and a management system that we can help, so much so that they're like, hey, let's just merge together. That's sort of where I want to go. And because of the way that it's structured, and there's a couple of, like I said, a couple 18-minute videos, whatever I just recently made, to kind of talk about that sort of intake process, because there's a lot of diversity. So not everyone is going to fall in that range of help for what I can do, but it's going to be a very, very small margin. And quite frankly, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to want to do. They're not going to want to help. They want that freedom, and they just need to escape. And there's just a lot of reasons why. I understand homelessness on a very, very personal level, and I've kept very close to that and trying to understand along all these many years. Not as much involved, submerged in it as I would have liked. Nonetheless, here we are. These Peapod Centers, also with the elite team and the 20-foot soldiers who live in the Peapod Center, the 20-foot soldiers do. The elite team have their own place, if not a housing that is paid for by the Good Ship, probably in the bank of properties that will be managed by the foundation. So a lot of times the elite team will be living in housing that is owned. It will be upscale housing, and the housing will also be used as content creation places. So that's just not an important thing, but a mentionable honor. So they kind of really comb through the community. So unlike a news story, they want what sells, and they are willing to manipulate it to hype the emotion. So there's a whole different character balance of what I'm doing, and we're looking for what a lot of people would deem undesirable, or people have felt undesirable because of, well, quite frankly, beauty standards and a whole host of other standards. You have to be perfect in order for your voice to be heard. And that's, again, got to make this video short, but Team Dive is sort of going to break down a lot of stuff like that. And that's a human behavioral science study kind of YouTube channel that's going to be a whole part of, they're managed by the foundation. So there's a lot of parts in this. So again, trying to keep this short, thousands of moving pieces in this, quite literally. These community centers do a lot of things. There's the third floor marketing team. They're a whole other conversation. It's going to take hour or two probably just to talk about the third floor. When the Peapod Center exists, and there's a region of Peapod Centers, and then we get the second half, that's the full scale operation. That's the Homeless to Permanent Housing Initiative. That's a whole other entity video of itself, a whole another spectrum. All of this works under the foundation. Like, it's really so many pieces, y'all. The Peapod Center and all the people that work in it create an atmosphere of content that's posted to create an atmosphere of change for content creators that live in the community and what they post. And everybody kind of working together then feeds into this, 100 different human experiences. And when you're log on to your homepage of the Good Ship and you're at your personal computer and not like your iPhone or your iPad, because it's going to be a different layout, depending on what device you work. Otherwise, you're just going to get your home page when you log on to your iPhone. But when you log on to your main computer, there's going to be your home screen, like a TikTok, and two other TikTok screens. There's going to be the Peapods that you subscribe to, or there's going to be TikTok-esque. So they're like, you're going to subscribe to like your content creators that you subscribe to. So that's going to be like your TikTok scroll. And then you're going to have your Peapod Centers. That's those 4,000 locations Maybe it's going to be a franchised member of the Peapod Center. So that's going to be your scroll. So no matter how many of them you just scroll to, then there's going to be your home page. So that's going to be sort of like your identity page. You sell commerce and stuff like that, there may be some things that are going to mix in that. We're going to work when I sit down, when I have the money and I sit down with the design team with the website, I kind of have some basic ideas. And then of course, I can't think of that word, but it's like a survey, but you take like 50 people in a room and you kind of walk through this kind of thing, and you pay them for their time, and you go through all this kind of stuff, and then you say, okay, what do you like? I'm probably going to go on the street someday with a color palette of different shades of purple, and then I'm going to say, what do you like better for a social media site as being the color? And that's how I'm going to decide what shade of purple, because purple is going to be the primary color of the good ship, just for whatever. And then probably an aquamarine teal ocean color is probably going to be the other color. There's a reason between all that. I think some of that can be figured out. But anyhow, that's the kind of way. Anyhow, so I can get the information. Anyhow, there's going to be lots. I put a lot of thought in this. Again, this is something that I've been working on for 32 years. So there's a lot of pieces in this. And then with working with a team of psychologists and stuff like that, I know once people start realizing what I'm doing, and then I actually start doing that because the social media site is launched, there's just going to be a lot of different kinds of people that are going to be involved in a lot of different pieces. And for the most part, everything that's learned is just to teach back human psychology, basically. I'm not trying to gather anything for anybody else other than just to teach back. Now that's where we're kind of circling back, and I'm going to type this whole conversation. So that scroll, that 100 different experiences, your main page, or if you subscribe to one of these Peapod centers, or if you subscribe to an individual content, you can streamline and change your own algorithm. So if you need to get fed depression stuff from a Peapod Center area, so maybe you want to know how a culture dealt with depression, so you just want to dial in to that Peapod Center and then pick the 100 different experiences, whatever they are. Maybe you're trying to do decoupage or some, I know I pronounced that terrible, but any sort of art, watercolors, being taught how to do watercolors, and then all of a sudden you're just going to get a scroll of that in that individual location. That's what the good ship does. And so these things are going to be to teach you these 100 different human experiences. I mean, maybe there's going to be 200, maybe there's going to be 120, maybe there's going to be 80. I don't know. When we get to the point, because once I have the funds, if I don't get them raised beforehand, which is going to be really sad because it's going to just push the timeline way back. And if I would die beforehand, then I'm not going to get it done. I hope I'm going to be working on this until I'm dead. No matter where I'm at, I'm going to be part of this. I can't do and will not do anything else in life but this. This is my single purpose life. I will fund this through the 4 books that I'm writing, or hopefully I get the funding, which would be ridiculous not to get it. And then, like I said, this is just, at this point, I'm going to be asking for basically $12 million over the course of 3 years, some starter money, promise money. We can work out whatever we need. And I may end up just getting it one lump sum because it's going to be pocket change to many of the people I reach out. I'll reach out local, and then I'm going to reach out through the world. But there's like a lot of billionaires that if they see what I can prove, I'll have YouTube videos up here kind of explaining what I can do. I can sit and I can talk. I can validate. I've got everything you want. I can ask any questions. I've got no secrets. And when people see that, they're going to know that. My transparency is going to be most definite. That's going to be one of the important things about trying to maintain control singularly, even if I have donations, is because I want transparency. There is going to be that connection. I want people to understand what and how things work. Know and have a beautiful idea of how to create a safe space, socially responsible, cultural social media site. So no matter whatever it is you're going through life, and whatever, maybe there's a cultural connection that you need, or maybe you want to try a new cultural experience, or maybe you just need cultural understanding and education. You can dial into that Peapod Center. You can find that 100 whatever human experience there is, you can dial in and you can tap in and you can get education and understanding. Now, one thing that I understand happened in 2020 in China, a major country, and throughout the world, where places they don't have psychologists and places to teach, they were looking online for help. And there's not a lot of places. See, one of the things that the good ship would be able to do is it's going to create a space for everyone to be able to just get on a scroll and literally just sit back and click on the scroll button, and it's just going to feed you one video after another, after another, after another, in different aspects, just staying on the conversation of depression, but just trying to give you all these different ideas, what worked, what different things, different people in your community. And if that's not what you want, how you want to label it, then it goes throughout the world trying to deal with depression. Like I said, it's a beautiful idea. And again, I really look forward to everyone giving me a chance and an opportunity and just listen to this channel. Like I said, like the best way to go into this is just listening to it like a lecture. It's hard to be entertaining when I'm trying to be informative on something that doesn't exist. This is very, very much new information. I'm the only one that knows this. I'm not working with anyone yet. At some point, I hope to be working with, dozens and hundreds and into the thousands, and at some point, millions of people working with this, all for the betterment of society. All the funds go back into the Homeless to Permanent Housing Initiative, if not for expansion. Expansion only happens when there's users in an area and there starts to get kind of like what I call a bank. And when there's a bank built for 3 years of costs to run a Peapod Center, then a Peapod Center location goes. So in essence, it's going to be a lot of asset-rich aspects to the good ship, because I want to make sure that whenever a Peapod Center location goes in, that there's 3 years business financing costs. And particularly, I thought of this aspect because of what we've seen, what happened out of 2020. And there was a lot of funding that didn't come in and donations, particularly in a business where I'm trying to be there for people that need help. 3 years still may put a lot of places out. Hopefully there's other Peapod centers in the world that can kind of fund, kind of like its own Red Cross. There's a whole network system, and that is sort of the reason and the whole connection and why everything is designed where it is, and how I'm, the reason why the safe space aspect, I don't allow, there won't be any swearing allowed, because in the Middle East, that's not allowed. So that's not going to be allowed on the social media site anywhere. There will be an aspect that you can subscribe to the adult section for like, $16 a month, which then you would have swearing. But when I say that, safe space, socially responsible, cultural social media site, there's aspects in the adult thing that I haven't talked about, I'm not going to talk about. And I am trying to reshape sort of the way that we kind of look at sort of that too, but I'm not going to say anymore. So that's going to be it on the Rolodex and how it's going to categorize, the 100 different human experiences that we do on a daily basis, and just being able to scroll in and find whatever it is. Literally everything that we as humans do across the world, in every culture, in every subculture, in mini culture. And by doing this, we preserve culture for all of history. And by being able to see each other, that's the element of world peace. You guys have a great day.